Okay, class, moving on into chapter 10, part 2. Here are the warm-up problems that you can try and see how you do. If you have any questions, just let me know. We are going to move on to some piecewise functions and finding partial areas of different shapes. So a piecewise function is basically a rectangular one. So all we do, it's pretty simple, is you just want to break it up into smaller rectangles, find the area of those rectangles, and then add them together. So if I'm looking at this first one here, I'm going to break it up right here. And now the area of this bottom one is going to be length times width. So the length and width is 5 and 4. So this would just be an area of 20 inches squared. Now this top one, we know that the width is 3, but this length up here would be, that's 2, that's 4, and that's 2. So the entire length is 8, okay? So the area is going to be 8 times 3, which is 24 inches squared. And now I say for the area of the full thing, it's just going to be 20 plus 24. So the area is 44 inches squared. That's it. All right, you can try the next one. See how you do. Do the same thing. And if you do it right, you should have gotten an area of 85. Note that you can break up the rectangles however you want. So for this one, you could have made like 3 vertical ones, and that would have been fine. But whatever you do, however you want to do it, you just break it up, and then you add them all together at the end. So now we're going to find the area between two figures. So you can have rectangles or circles. So this first one, if I want to find the area of the shaded region, so the area of the shaded is just going to be the area of the larger, minus the area of the smaller, okay? So the area of the larger is just going to be 13 times 6. And I'm going to subtract the area of the smaller, which is going to be 11 times 4. So 13 and 6 is 78 minus 44. So the area of the shaded region is going to be 34 yards squared. Okay? All right, you can try the next one, see how you do. So the area of the shaded one in that was, the bigger one was 112, the smaller one was 35. So subtracted them, and you would have gotten 77 meters squared. All right, here we go. So now we've got a triangle and a rectangle, okay? So the area of the shaded, let's call it area of S, is area larger minus area of smaller. So the area of the larger is a triangle, so 1/2. The base here, if this is 6 and this is 3, that's giving me a base of 9. And then the height, if this is 5, this is 2, the height therefore is 7. Okay, so make sure you don't just plug in 5 and 6. You got to make sure you have the whole base and the whole height. Now the area of the square is just 2 times 3. So plugging this all in, this would be 31.5 minus 6. So the area of this shaded is just 25.5 centimeters squared. All right, let's do another one. So area of shaded is the area of the larger minus the area of the smaller. Okay, so the area of the larger is just going to be the rectangle. Oh, it just happened. So the rectangle is 9 times 7. Now the smaller, we got to find the units of this triangle, okay? So if this right side is 7, and I know this much is 3, then this has to be 4. All right, if the top part is 9, and I subtract the 2, then the bottom of this triangle must be 7, okay? So then it's 1/2 base times height, okay? So this is 63. That's 28.5 of that is 14. So the area of the shaded would be 49 yards squared. All right, you can try the next one. If you do the next two, this is what you would have gotten. So notice when you're doing this, the semicircle, you're using the area of a circle formula, which is pi r squared, but semicircle would just be half pi r squared. So if you see those two formulas where I'm taking the semicircled, those were just half pi r squared is where you get the half for. Okay. All right, now let's try to find this. So what this shape is basically is it's a rectangle and then two semicircles, but two semicircles also equal one full circle. So this area is just going to be equal to the area of the rectangle plus the area of a circle. And it's just one circle because I'm combining the semicircles into two. So the area of the rectangle is 82 times 54. The area of the circle is pi, which they want us to use as 3.14. So pi r squared. Now r, the diameter here is 54, so the radius has to be half of that, which is 27. Okay? So now the numbers are getting a little bit bigger here. Times 54, you'll want your calculator for this. So 4428 plus 27 squared times 3.14 plus 2289.06. Now I just add those together, and the area is going to be equal to 6,717.06 meters squared. All right. All right, you can try the next one. So the next one, you needed to subtract the semicircle. So you did the area of the rectangle minus the area of the semicircle, and you would have gotten 618.5 inches squared. All right, now we're going to find area with multiple figures inside, okay? So to find the area of this shaded, I'm going to take the area of my rectangle, and I'm going to subtract 2 times the area of circles, because I have 2 circles in here, so I got to subtract 2 of them, okay? Now this is going to be tricky. I've got to find what my height is here, and then, of course, I got to figure out what the radius is, which is going to be half that height. So if this is 32 and I break that in half, that means this much is 16, right? So that means the diameter of the circle is 16, which creates the height as 16, which means my radius is then going to be 8, okay? Because obviously half of the diameter is that. So the area of the rectangle is going to be 32 times 16, length times width, minus 2 times the area. I'll use 3.14 for pi. So pi r squared. So pi times 16 squared, okay? So 32 times 16 is 512. Now I've got to subtract what this equals. So 16 squared is 256 times 3.14. What did I do wrong here? Times 2. Okay. I missed something up here. Oh, I put the radius as 16. Good catch there, class. So that's 8 squared. That's why my number was way too high. So 8 squared is 64 times 3.14 is that, times 2 is 401.92. All right, 512 subtracting that is 110.08. So obviously if you're ever doing this and you figure out that you're getting a number that doesn't make sense, AKA like if you plugged in the radius as 16 instead of 8, you'd have been subtracting and got a negative number, which wouldn't make any sense. So then you can usually check yourself, okay, I must have made a mistake, and figure out where that mistake was. All right, let's do this one. All right, so 15 is the height here of this rectangle. So again, the area of the shaded is going to be the area of my rectangle minus 3 times the area of a semicircle, okay? So I've got to find what this length is. So 15 would represent the radius, right? Which means this diameter would then be 30, which means that has to be 30 and that has to be 30. Okay, which creates a length of 90. So the area of the rectangle is going to be 90 times 15 minus 3 times 3 semicircles. So this is going to be half, I'm going to call times 3.14 times the radius squared, so 15 squared, okay? So 90 times 15 is 1350 minus, so 15 squared, so if I'm using order of operations correctly, I'm going to say 15 squared times 3.14 times 0.5 times 3. So I'm going to be subtracting 1,059.75. Okay? And 1350 minus that, my area is going to be equal to 90.25 centimeters squared. All right, see if you can get 3. And then we're all done. So same idea, figure out what the radius would be. And then obviously that creates as the height right there. When you do it all, you would get 82.4. And that's it. Let me know if you have any questions.